Hope y'all are doing better than I am. I don't know where it came from, but I have a cold that is not my friend. We have a really interesting topic for today. The nature one? It wasn't live. The edible plants for tomorrow? Okay. Gonna try to get through this one today, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I am sick. Welcome to today's live. Today we are talking about engaging with wildlife. Now, this is very different from any other live that we've talked about. This one's going to get a little bit deeper, maybe even a sprinkling of spiritual. Oh, that's okay. I didn't realize I had sent one and then did the edible plants one, but that's the only one I did. It's all the same one. So, today we are talking about being engaged with wildlife. Now, I don't mean going out into a forest and asking someone to marry you. That's not being engaged with animals or with nature. And I'm not talking about going out and marrying an animal. No, not what I'm doing. We are talking about this in a few different ways this year, or we have talked about this in a few different ways. We sort of hit on it when we were talking about learning what's out there, and when we talked about encouraging wildlife to visit your yard. To a certain extent, I try to do this every time I do my videos. I'm hoping to get you curious. I'm hoping to tickle your interest in the natural world. And maybe I should fine-tune my videos so that I focus on just animals or just plants. But I'm getting off the subject. We live in a society that, for the most part, is very far removed from our indigenous roots. And you might be thinking, but Nature Guy, we've never been indigenous. No, you're wrong. We were once upon a time. And we lived in a society in which we were hunters and gatherers. Now, not so much. Now we're basically living out of grocery stores, supplementing our food maybe with what comes out of nature. When we were hunters and gatherers, we depended on the natural world much differently than we do today, but still very much the same as we did back then. Now, we are not going out into the hills to hunt meat. We don't have to do that. Now, in some places, they still do. And that is fine. That's incredible. We don't go, if we're sick, we don't go into the forest and dig up a plant or pull a leaf or whatever to extract that medicine. No, we go to the doctor, he gives us some pills, whatever, and then sends us home. So, if we didn't do those things, if we didn't go out and we didn't hunt or we didn't gather plants, we would have died. We wouldn't have made it. Because by not doing that, by not going out and not hunting, you are not going to survive. You depended upon those plants and those animals to heal yourself or to feed. If you didn't know what plants were edible and poisonous, you died or you got sick. You didn't have a choice in that. Our lives... Oh, wait, I'm skipping. Back then, we were taught to avoid poisonous plants. That's a really big deal. There is even some scientific belief that the reason that little kids don't like broccoli and don't like spinach is it's slightly bitter. And poisonous plants oftentimes are bitter. So that could be a throwback to when we were hunters and gatherers. We might have known which plants provided medicine. We would have known which animals to hunt. Again, this was taught. You were taught medicine. You were taught how to hunt. You were taught when to hunt. Another thing that was huge is we did not just go out and eliminate all of the deer, because we knew if we did, we would starve. And I think you'll see that over any indigenous group, is they knew their lives depended upon the health of the ecosystem that they lived in. So if you poisoned it, you died because you no longer had somebody to take care of you. And that somebody would have looked on that as the earth goddess, Gaia, or the Great Spirit, or whoever. Okay, point taken there. Our lives were dependent on our ability to make a living off the land. I used to have a chart that listed everything that the Native Americans, those that lived on the plains anyway, got from the buffalo. And it was a huge list. Things that you wouldn't even think of. Everything from meat to the hides that they would have used to make clothing or to make their teepees. They used the tendons to make bow and arrows with. And the list goes on and on and on. I think they even cooked in the stomach. They would have used everything, not just the meat. But that was common, in a lot of different indigenous groups. There is a spirituality to the natural world. We don't have that so much in modern day culture. Everything that we owned back in the day came from the natural world. Your teepee, your wigwam, your home, whatever it might be, was obtained from nature. If you were going to hunt, you needed the flint or the obsidian, whatever you were going to use to make your arrowhead out of, you had to make that. It wasn't a choice. Somebody in your group had to make it. Some cultures, they did garden. Somebody had to do that. Somebody had to go out and hunt. Somebody had to skin the animals. Somebody had to, everything that had to be done, you did it. But there is a huge difference in our lives today. Most of us wouldn't know an edible wild plant from a poisonous plant. And I'm not saying that everybody's this way, but certainly to some extent, that unfortunately is our world. Well, but the point is, somebody had to do it. Somebody had to teach them how to do it. You might know of an American robin, but would you know a brown-headed cowbird if you saw one? You might know a great horned owl, but would you know a elf owl? You might know a bald eagle if you saw one, but would you know an African fishing eagle? You might know a mule deer or a white-tailed deer, but would you know a roe deer or a muntjac? You know African lions, but would you know a Pallas cat? Our ancestors would have known what plants were available in the spring and what plants were available in the summer. The reason that I mentioned all of those different animals is that is part of engaging with wildlife. It's learning what is out there and then respecting what is out there. And then through that respect comes caring. Eventually, you grow to love it, and then you grow to, I want to save it. And it's not necessarily in that order, but something like that is going on. We aren't just out there to we live in a modern age, and we are removed many generations from how we lived as indigenous people in Europe. Or those of you who, wherever you came from originally, somewhere in your past, you depended upon the natural world. We would have known venomous snakes. Our busy lives take us away from the land and from most things that are natural. Most of us engage with wildlife at zoos or the birds and animals that visit our yard. But to really, really engage with wildlife and the natural world, you need to know some of nature's little secrets. And that is hopefully what I am doing when I do my videos. Hopefully, I'm teaching you a little bit of nature secrets. And that is so awesome. It's really powerful. For instance, to really appreciate a violet as more than just a purple spring flower, it helps know that it's edible. A great horned owl is more than just a nocturnal bird of prey. It's also one of the skunk's natural predators. It's more than simply putting seeds out for the birds. It's putting the seeds out there and then learning the birds that come to your feeder. It's knowing the difference between a song sparrow and a house sparrow. It's knowing how vital it is for the health of our planet that we just don't plant ornamental flowers in our yard. We incorporate native flowers and shrubs into our landscape as much as possible because, yes, bees do feed and gather pollen and nectar from these ornamental plants. But most native plants are not aggressive, though some are. But the natural plants provide more for the ecosystem than maybe an ornamental plant. It's knowing, okay, sorry. When you reach a point where being out in nature isn't just for catching a breath of fresh air, it's feeling recharged from being out in nature, both physically, spiritually, and emotionally recharged. It's knowing the plants and animals around you, but it's more than that. It's loving the plants and animals that are around you. If you can't look at a great white shark and not see the beauty behind its fearsome reputation, then maybe you aren't ready to love them. Now, I'm not saying that we need to, go out and hug a great white shark because that would just be stupid. But the world needs great white sharks. And it needs us to be more than just citizens on this planet. I've said this before, my nature peeps, and I'm going to say it again, probably 1,000 times. We, human beings, are stewards of this earth, whether you want to be or not. And I believe that at some point, we're going to be held responsible for the way that we have treated Earth's creatures. That being said, we also need to remember that all animals and plants are included in this, even the venomous or poisonous ones. Seeing an animal in its natural world is amazing, but not everybody can afford to go out into all of these different wild places. That's a reality. However, we can still enjoy the plants and animals and everything around them in our area. Having a wildlife encounter can be soul-changing if you let it. Now, I am not suggesting that you go out there and you hug a bear. I'm not suggesting that you go out there and you go up and you hug a moose, because again, that would just be stupid. But what I am saying is you can grow from being out there. The amazing thing about animals, and basically I'm talking about our pets. Animals accept you for you. Your dog or your cat accept you because you are you. Now, there are some animals that are never going to maybe get to that point. It's just a fact of life. Your tarantula might act like it wants to be held by you. Chances are it probably really doesn't. There are some reptiles perfectly capable of learning their names. Crocodilians, really smart. Alligators, believe it or not, can learn their name. I am not saying you should go out and get an alligator because that would just be stupid. Okay, I said it. Seeing real animals helps you love them even more. And yes, admire from afar because animals can be dangerous. That being said, they are still every living thing. Every living thing. I'm going to say it one more time. Every living thing was created spiritually before it was created physically. Therefore, every living thing has a spirit. Now, that is my belief, but I believe that. I don't think it's a coincidence that some of that is in the Native American belief system. I don't think it is. And maybe you believe that too, but, it is what it is. We have to be very, very careful. And parents, I'm talking to you. Older brothers and sisters, I'm talking to you. Aunts and uncles, I'm talking to you. Grandparents, I'm talking to you. We have fears. Everybody has them. There's something you are afraid of. You can take those fears and you can get a child who sees you reacting to an animal to pick up on that fear. So, for example, if you're afraid of a bee and it comes at you and you start dancing, little kids see that. If you say that snakes are bad, little kids hear you. Don't do that. Let kids not fear. Now, I believe there is a difference between respect and fear. For instance, if I respect a honeybee, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to let it do its thing. Because obviously, if it stings me because I'm mistreating it, it's going to die. Now, not every bee is going to do that. A wasp is not flying around looking to sting you. It's out there doing its thing, and you're in the way. You're doing something to draw its attention. Kids can pick up, like I said, on that fear. Wildlife encounters, sadly, can even feed that fear. Just for example, I approached a dog that I had seen my dad walk up and pet. I approached that same dog, and that dog barked at me and reared its teeth. I didn't get bit. But ever since then, I had been afraid of dogs. Doesn't always show, but I don't like stray dogs. I got stung by a bumblebee, And ever since then, I've been a little bit fearful of bees and wasps. But the good news is, if you are afraid of an animal, you can overcome that fear. You don't have to dwell on it. I've learned that you can face that fear. You can face it head on, or you can develop a respect for that animal and then move past that fear. It's not easy, but you can do it. I got a little bit off track there. Let's go back and get back to where we need to be. Science has proven that being out in nature and having encounters in nature can enhance your mood. It can even help you develop love. It changes your perspective in life, or it can if you allow it to. Once we love nature, once we love animals, you want to do what you can to protect it. And we need to have conversations about nature and our role in it. Your role in nature is not to swat every wasp that comes into your house. Now, do you need to get bit by mosquitoes? No. I'm not suggesting that we totally go vegan. I'm not suggesting that we totally stop killing animals for food. No, what I'm saying is we need to show respect. It is okay to escape into nature and just soak it in. That is fine. We should all do this on occasion. And if you can't get out onto a trail and soak in Mother Nature, you can sit on your porch, you can close your eyes, and you can listen. Because there's a message that's carried on the wind. There's a message for you in the song of a bird. You have to listen. It's not up to me to get you to love it. It's my job to maybe push you in that direction. Just get out there and walk. And if you can't do that, get out there and just listen. Because using your senses to take in the world around you is life-changing. I promise you that. It's just as life-changing as maybe getting married. I said it, and I believe it. And maybe that makes me a little bit crazy. I don't know. I don't care. If you're out there and you're not using your senses, you're not taking it all in, and you're going to miss something. Nature isn't as simple as a leaf or a flower or the mosquito that's trying to bite you. It's more than the wind blowing through the trees. It's more than the snake that you might have seen or the robin that's singing in the tree in your yard. You have to consider the whys, the whats, and soon you're going to be able to see connections that you never saw before. And it's those connections that make nature so utterly amazing. If you can't see an animal's place in nature, may I suggest that you're not looking close enough. I promise you that everything that is here has a purpose and has a reason for being here. Sometimes it's to bless our lives one way or another, or it may very well be that they're here simply to feed another animal. Nature, I promise you, is very, very, very complex. And sometimes you need to step back and look at it through different eyes. Next time you're out in nature, next time that you go out and get the mail, next time that you're just out there standing on your porch, I want you to close your eyes and just listen to Mother Nature. Listen to the birds singing around you. Listen to the insects as they fly past you. Feel the wind as it blows across your face. And then smell. Take in the smells around you. Just sit back and relax. Don't be in a rush. Because when you rush, like in everything else in your life, you're going to miss something. I and my fellow members of the church that I go to, we just got done having conference. If you are not in tune to the spirit of the talks that's happening, you're going to miss something. And you're going to miss out on something that could change your life. If it's not too much, because we're all created physically and spiritually, we are all connected. Whether you like that idea or not, you are brothers and sisters to everybody else. You are no better than the indigenous people of Brazil, our own indigenous people, and you're no different than anybody else. You are no more important than anybody else. You are you. A person on this earth struggling to make it every day. That is you. And animals are doing the same exact thing. They are struggling to live in a world that is so different from the one that used to be here. The things that don't want to be seen by you, they're there. And some of them want to be seen by you. Some of them are scared of you. That's okay. You're a giant compared to some animals. Don't be afraid to learn new things. Don't be afraid to see new things. Don't be afraid of what's out there. Look for the tree that would have produced nuts or fruits. Look for the plants that would have been food or would have been medicine. Tomorrow's live, I'm going to show you plants that our ancestors would have used for food and maybe medicine. Because you can still learn it even if you're not using it. That's the beauty. Don't be afraid to face your fears. Because I'm telling you, there's plenty of things that you could learn to love if you just gave it a chance. Now, again, I'm not saying that you should go out and pet a cobra. Because why? Because that would just be stupid. But you can respect them. You can let them live. You can give them space. You can, as Carol said, admire them from afar. Engaging with wildlife doesn't mean that you go out there and you fight it. It doesn't mean that you go out there and kill it. Although hunting for meat is okay, as long as you're following the laws. Engaging with wildlife means that you learn to love it, you learn to live with it, and you learn to let it into your life, and you learn to let it have a life. You learn to love it so you can learn to conserve it. You learn to find peace in wild places. I've learned to engage with nature, and I can honestly say that when I'm out in nature, it doesn't take me long to feel renewed. And the longer I'm out there, the better I feel. I've learned, like I said, to engage with nature. And if I haven't said it, that is perfectly okay. We have allowed ourselves to disconnect, and we need to regain that connection. If we don't, you are not going to learn to love it. We need to find a balance between our old ways and modern life. And it's worth regaining, dare I say it, our wild side. It's worth being open to new ways of thinking. It's worth using our eyes and our ears when we're out there. It's worth blocking or leaving our phones in our pocket unless you're taking a memory while you're out hiking. Nature is welcoming you, and all you have to do is accept her invitation. That being said, again, there are dangers in nature. That's why you learn about nature. You learn about the things in your backyard. And then, when you've learned it, you explore it. If you have apex predators in your area, remember, use your head. Use common sense. I know that's a little bit lacking in today's society, but use it. It's amazing. I'm not in this live tonight to teach you safeguards. There are other videos where I talk about that. I'm here to hopefully get you excited to engage with nature and with wildlife. We have too much to lose. Way too much to lose. The more people who engage with wildlife, the more people who are going to care about nature, and the more that we have on nature's side, the more we can do to save nature. And that is why I get on here every day to hopefully raise your awareness of what is out there, to hopefully catch your eye so that you give a creature a second chance. Anyway, I'm running out of things to say, so I hope on some level I've inspired you to engage with nature on some level. Remember, nature is all around you, even when you don't know it. Even if it's just in your yard Nature is there, and it wants to be there. So, with that said, the floor is open to you to tell me what you thought of today's live, because I've done a lot of talking, and I'm probably going to pay for it. So, Carol, any thoughts? If you have thoughts about anything I've said, if you disagree with anything I've said today, leave it in the comments. And when I said that we are all one, I mean that. From the high and uppity people who think that they're better than everybody else, they're not. Because in the end, what really matters is how you treated other people. In the end, it matters how you treated Mother Earth. There, I said it. It's really that simple. It matters. Every single extinction matters. And I'm going to say something, and maybe you'll understand this. Every plant, every animal was put here for a reason. It might be to feed us. It might be to give us medicine. If we lose it because we allow it to go extinct, we could lose a cure that blows your mind. Guys, seriously. The copperhead, a venomous snake that you may not like, that you might go out and kill with a shovel. Guess what? The copperhead, its venom was used to make medicine. The Gila monster is used to make medicine. If you have a family member who has diabetes, they could owe their lives to the venom in a Gila monster. No joke. So, yeah. Let wild things live. Treat animals as your brother. The earth isn't going to come to you and say, hey, you dropped your cigarette, or hey, you slapped a mosquito today, or you turned your back on a stray dog, or maybe you turned your back on a human being. Maybe. It's all the same thing. Maybe a little bit more so for turning your back on a human. But the animals here are just as important as a person. Yes, they feed us. Yes, we kill them. Yes, that's all true. But at the same time, that is why some animals are here. I'm not suggesting that there isn't things we've done in our past that are wrong. And one of the lives that's going to be coming up, we're going to talk about one of our native animals and how it is directly tied into how we treat certain groups in American society today. And it is coming up, and we are going to talk about it. And I hope that you'll listen to what I have to say. Guys, I was worried I wouldn't have enough time, that I would only be able to talk about this for a half hour. And look at us. We have been talking for 45 minutes. Incredible. And I'm sort of echoing a younger guy that I look up to on Instagram. What I've talked about today, he echoes in his own Instagram stories and reels. We live in a day and age that is so, so different from any other period on earth. There is so much out there for us to take in. Why take in the garbage when you can take in and preserve what's important? Your family, nature, it's all the same. Because if a person goes out and abuses an animal, they're just as likely to do it to a human. And that's not just me saying that. It's been proven. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm ending this live. If I've hit at something today, if I've touched you in your heart today, let me know in the comments. I may get unfollowed for some of the things that I said today, and that's going to hurt. But if I do, I will bounce back. We are at, and I didn't even look. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not look today. And that is my fault. I should have looked. Because I do get to see how many of you come into live. And it blows my mind every time. We are at 486 subscribers. I do think we dropped. I think we were at 486 or 487. Let's see. Am I right? Oh no. We were at 483. Guys, that is incredible. Thank you. I love each and every one of you. And I'm not saying that because I have to. I'm saying that because, guys, you are amazing. There is nothing that we've talked about tonight that isn't true. At least here. Guys, I'm going to end tonight's live. I hope that you will be here tomorrow when I get a chance to show you my craft and teach you a little bit about what's out there. Because it's important. So with that, I will see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. I hope to see everybody there. See you later, my nature peeps.